Welcome to the Bacolod City Labor Partnership Podcast. Breaking news, we're diving deep into the latest updates on Kanlaon volcano right here on Negros Island. We've got some unsettling reports, and we're here to help you understand what's going on.
That's right. We're looking at reports from philstar.com and the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, to break down what this means for you.
Philipines raised Kanlaon's alert level to 3 back in December, and that's got everyone on edge.
Yeah, level 3 means a magmatic eruption is already in progress. This isn't just some rumbling beneath the surface. This means magma is moving, and we're seeing the effects of that movement.
The Philstar article mentions that the volcano showed signs of unrest since June. Why wasn't the alert level raised sooner?
Well, volcanic activity can be unpredictable. PHIVOLCS constantly monitors for changes in activity and adjusts alert levels accordingly. Sometimes those changes can happen quickly.
This has to be stressful for those living near the volcano. What safety measures are in place?
For the latest safety recommendations, you can visit the Bacolod City Labor Partnership on YouTube or Facebook. They've got resources specific to our community.
That's a great point. We'll be sure to include links to those resources in the show notes. So what does a level 3 alert actually mean for people in the area?
It means there's a heightened risk of volcanic hazards. We're talking about ashfall, which we've already seen, and the possibility of lava flows. But one of the most dangerous hazards is a pyroclastic flow.
I've heard of those, but could you explain exactly what they are?
Imagine a superheated cloud of gas and volcanic debris racing down the slopes of the volcano at incredible speeds. They're absolutely devastating.
That's terrifying. What can people do to stay safe if something like that were to happen?
The most important thing is to listen to local authorities and follow any evacuation orders they issue. Evacuation orders are not issued lightly. It's not worth risking your life by staying in a hazardous area.
And to reiterate what you said earlier, people can find the latest updates and evacuation information on the Bacolod City Labor Partnership's YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Correct. They're a great resource for staying informed during this situation.
So we're dealing with an active eruption, and there's a chance things could get even more intense. What are the chances of a major eruption happening?
It's difficult to predict with certainty. Volcanoes are complex systems, and we can't say for sure what will happen. PHIVOLCS uses a variety of tools and monitoring techniques to assess the situation and provide updates as needed.
What sort of things are they monitoring?
They track seismic activity, which basically means earthquakes related to the volcano. They also monitor ground deformation, looking for any swelling or changes in the shape of the volcano. And finally, they analyze gas emissions, looking for changes in the types and amounts of gases released.
So they're keeping a close eye on everything going on with the volcano, and if they see signs that suggest a higher risk of a major eruption, they'll adjust the alert level accordingly, right?
Exactly. The alert level system is designed to give the public timely warnings and guidance. But even with all of this monitoring, there's still a degree of uncertainty.
This must be causing a lot of anxiety for people living in the shadow of Kanlaon.
Of course. It's a very stressful situation to be in. The fear of the unknown, the potential danger, the disruption to everyday life, it can take a toll.
It's important to acknowledge that and to reach out for support if you need it.
Absolutely. And the Bacolod City Labor Partnership is working to connect residents with resources, including mental health services.
That's good to hear.
Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical safety, especially in a situation like this.
Okay, so let's recap what we know so far. Kanlaon is actively erupting, and PHIVOLCS has raised the alert level to 3. Indicating a heightened risk of volcanic hazards, including the possibility of a major eruption.
That's correct.
And it's crucial for everyone in the affected areas to stay informed, follow the guidance of local authorities, and be prepared for potential evacuations.
I couldn't agree more. This is a serious situation that demands everyone's attention.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first segment of our deep dive, but we're not done yet. In part 2, we'll delve deeper into the history of Kanlaon's eruptions and what the science tells us about this volatile volcano.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the deep dive. You're right, this is a lot to take in. And understanding the history of Kanlaon can give us some perspective.
Okay, so let's go back in time. What can you tell us about Kanlaon's past eruptions?
Well, Kanlaon is one of the most active volcanoes in the Philippines. It has a long history of eruptions dating back centuries, and these haven't just been minor events either.
So some have been bigger than others.
Exactly. Some have been relatively minor, small ash emissions and lava flows, but others have been much more powerful. The 1996 eruption, for example, tragically killed 3 hikers who were near the summit.
Wow. A stark reminder that even when a volcano isn't producing a major eruption, it can still be incredibly dangerous.
Absolutely. And in 1866, there was a significant explosive eruption that caused widespread ashfall. What's really concerning about that eruption is that it produced lahars.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We touched on lahars earlier, but can you remind us what they are and why they're so dangerous?
Sure, lahars are essentially volcanic mudflows. When you have an eruption, especially one with ashfall, that ash can mix with rainwater or melting snow and ice, this creates these incredibly fast-moving, dense flows that can travel for miles down river valleys.
So they can affect areas far beyond the immediate vicinity of the volcano.
Precisely. Lahars can bury entire communities, destroy infrastructure, and make areas uninhabitable. They're one of the most dangerous secondary effects of volcanic eruptions.
Oh, knowing that Kanlaon has produced lahars in the past, what precautions are in place now to protect communities that might be in their path?
Well, Fivolks has lahar hazard maps for Kanlaon, and those are used to identify areas at risk. There are also early warning systems in place using things like rain gauges and seismic sensors to detect potential lahar formation. If a lahar is detected, sirens will sound and communities in the path of the flow will be evacuated.
Okay, so history tells us that Kanlaon is capable of producing some pretty serious eruptions, which brings us back to the science. What can you tell us about the underlying forces driving these eruptions?
Well, it all boils down to plate tectonics. The Philippines sits on a very active tectonic zone where the Eurasian plate and the Philippine Sea plate are colliding.
So those massive plates crashing into each other are what's causing the volcanic activity.
Exactly. That collision creates immense pressure and heat, which melts rock and forms magma beneath the surface. When that magma finds a way to escape, we get an eruption.
So in a way, these eruptions are a release valve for all that pressure building up beneath the Earth.
You could say that. And understanding the tectonic forces at play helps us better appreciate the power and unpredictability of volcanoes.
It's also a reminder that we're living on a dynamic planet that's constantly changing.
Very true. And those changes can sometimes manifest in dramatic ways, like volcanic eruptions.
This deep dive has certainly given us a lot to think about. Before we wrap up, I'd like to shift gears for a moment and talk about the human impact of this situation.
I think that's an important perspective to consider. Volcanoes are fascinating from a scientific standpoint, but ultimately, it's the human element that truly matters. We've talked about the potential dangers of eruptions, but what about the people who live in the shadow of Kanlan? How are they coping with this situation?
Yeah, I mentioned there's a lot of anxiety and stress. What kind of support is available for people who are feeling anxious or overwhelmed?
Well, the Bacolod City Labor Partnership is working to connect residents with mental health resources and support services. You can find more information about these resources on their YouTube channel and Facebook page. They're really doing everything they can to help the community through this.
That's good to hear. It's important to remember that people react to these situations differently, and it's okay to seek help if you're struggling. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical safety.
I completely agree.
So to recap, Kanlaon volcano is currently in a state of magmatic unrest, which means there's an ongoing eruption. Fivolks has raised the alert level to 3, indicating a heightened risk of volcanic hazards, including lahars, and it's essential for everyone in the affected areas to stay informed, follow the guidance of local authorities, and be prepared for potential evacuations.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This
Okay.
has been a lot of information to process, and I know it can be overwhelming. But remember, you're not alone.
That's right. We'll be back with part 3 after a short break, where we'll delve further into the cultural significance of Kanlaon, the myths and legends that surround it, and explore some personal stories from those directly impacted. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been talking about the science behind Kanlaon's eruptions and the very real danger this poses to people living nearby. But now I'm kind of curious to explore the cultural side of things.
Yeah, it's fascinating how volcanoes have captured the human imagination for centuries. I mean, they inspire awe, fear, and they often become like woven into the fabric of local cultures.
Right, and Kanlaon is no exception. It's not just a geological formation, it's a landmark steeped in mythology.
Yeah, that's right. In Philippine mythology, Kanlaon is considered a sacred mountain, a dwelling place for powerful spirits and deities. There's so many stories passed down through generations.
Can you share some of those stories with us? I'm always captivated by local folklore.
Sure. One well-known legend tells of a beautiful goddess named Leon who resided on the mountain. She was believed to be the protector of the land and its people.
So she was a revered figure.
Absolutely. People would offer her gifts and sacrifices, hoping to appease her and ensure good harvests. And when the volcano erupted, well, that was seen as a sign of Leon's power or perhaps her displeasure.
So these myths provided a way to explain the volcano's unpredictable behavior.
Yeah, and more than that, they instilled a sense of respect and caution towards nature. I think it's a reminder that for all our scientific advancements, we're still very much at the mercy of natural forces.
Yeah, it's interesting how these stories intertwine the physical world with the spiritual realm.
Yeah, it's a common thread in cultures around the world. Humans have always sought to understand the natural world and our place within it. Stories, myths, and legends, they help us grapple with the unknown.
In the case of Kanlan, these myths highlight the deep connection between the people and the volcano. It's more than just a mountain to them.
Exactly. It's a part of their history, their identity, their very way of life.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Kanlan volcano, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first and foremost, stay informed. Follow the guidance of local authorities and FIVOLCs. They're the experts, and your safety depends on heeding their warnings.
Absolutely. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, remember that there are resources available to help you.
Right. The Bacolod City Labor Partnership is working hard to connect residents with those resources. Be sure to visit their YouTube channel and Facebook page for the latest updates and information.
This deep dive has shown us the power of nature, the science behind these incredible events, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of uncertainty.
It's been a journey of discovery, and I hope it encourages everyone to learn more about the world around us, both the wonders and the potential dangers.
Thank you for listening to the Bacolod City Labor Partnership podcast. Stay safe, everyone.